Ernest Hemingway was born on July 21st, 1899, and he died on July 2nd, 1961. Throughout his life, he published 7 novels, 6 short story collections, and 2 nonfiction works. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. Throughout his life, he did many amazing things. He served as an ambulance driver in World War I. In 1954, the same year he won the Nobel Prize, he almost died in 2 plane crashes in 2 different days. He had 4 wives throughout his life, all at separate times. Famously, he loved hunting and fishing. And despite what you may see in this picture, he sometimes wrote standing up. He thought that standing up gave him more energy and creativity. Somewhat odd fact, which may or may not be true, perhaps it's a myth or a legend, but they say after writing For Whom the Bell Tolls, he went out hunting and he killed 400 rabbits in one day. What we know is definitely true, however, he suffered severe depression and he was often very sick. He was also an alcoholic and he stole a urinal from his favorite bar and put it in his house. He said that he poured so much money down that urinal that he basically owned it. Tragically, in 1961, he killed himself with a shotgun. Here are some pictures of Ernest Hemingway demonstrating his love for hunting, fishing, and his sportsman-like physique. His writing style is very distinct. We can say that he used something called the iceberg theory. In the iceberg theory, only 1/8 of an iceberg is above the water. The rest is hidden beneath the water. What does this mean? The iceberg can move with dignity and simplicity because most of it is submerged beneath the surface. Hemingway's writing was like this as well. He only told you 1/8 of what was going on. The rest of it was invisible and it was hidden from the reader. The facts float above the water. The supporting structure and symbolism are out of sight, and this constitutes his minimalistic writing style. 70% of his sentences are simple sentences. They're not complicated, not complex. Here's an example. Look how simple the sentences are. In the morning, I walked down the boulevard to the Rue Soufflot for coffee and brioche. It was a fine morning. The horse chestnut trees in the Luxembourg gardens were in bloom. There was the pleasant early morning feeling of a hot day. I read the papers with a coffee and then smoked a cigarette. The flower women were coming up from the market and arranging their daily stock. How simple is that? Do you see any commas? Do you see any complicated sentences? No. How can you write simply? Here's Hemingway's rules for simplicity. Use short sentences, especially on the first sentence of a paragraph, and also make sure the first paragraph of a chapter is short, or the first paragraph of an article, or whatever it is you're writing make sure that it is short, because that's how you introduce the listener, or I should say the reader, to your content. And the beginning should be short so that they can easily understand what's going on. And you also want to use vigorous English. Use words that perfectly describe what is happening, and don't use too many superfluous words or adjectives. Vigorous English. These are his most famous books. In 1952, The Old Man and the Sea. 1926, The Sun Also Rises. 1929, A Farewell to Arms. 1940, For Whom the Bell Tolls. This is my favorite book by Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls. It's the story of Robert Jordan, a young American volunteer in the Spanish Civil War. He is assigned to blow up a bridge. It's also a great love story. It shows the tragedy experienced by Spanish peasants fighting for their lives. So, what is For Whom the Bell Tolls really about? It's about the importance of our bonds with other people. If we form strong relationships or strong bonds, we can value ourselves more fully. That's what happened to the characters in the story. It's also about the horrors of war and also sacrifice. Here's a quote from the book. There is nothing else than now. There is neither yesterday, certainly, nor is there any tomorrow. How old must you be before that? There is only now, and if now is only 2 days, then 2 days is your life, and everything in it will be in proportion. This is how you live a life in 2 days. And if you stop complaining and asking for what you will never get, you will have a good life. Perhaps Hemingway's most famous book, The Old Man and the Sea. Okay, in this book, an old man goes out to sea alone to catch the biggest fish ever. This is the masterpiece of Hemingway's simple writing style. Remember, we talked about minimalism and the iceberg theory. It is said that this book revolutionized the style of English writing. But who knows? How can you tell what revolutionizes what? Hemingway proved you can be profound while also writing simply. Yes, that is very important, because often as English learners and writing students, we cannot really write complicated sentences. But Hemingway shows us that we do not need to, because he wrote very simply, and this book won the Nobel Prize. Here is a quote from The Old Man and the Sea. Now is not the time to think of what you do not have. Think of what you can do with what there is. This kind of reminds me of a quote from Lord of the Rings by Gandalf when he was talking to Frodo. Okay, A Farewell to Arms. Hemingway used his own experiences as an ambulance driver in World War I to write this story. It's a story of love and war, and it depicts a realistic and sensitive image of war. Presently, it is taught at US military academies, apparently because it's so realistic. I have not read this. If anybody has read this, let me know something about it in the comments. Now I'm going to leave you on this page so you can do a little quiz, okay? Write down the answers to all these questions. So I'll read them out and then I will just leave the page. What is unique about Hemingway's writing style? Which book won the Nobel Prize for Literature? How did Hemingway die? What did Hemingway do for fun?